getting a lot of the core of this dent out, and I'm starting to see some little bit of mounding right here on the edge. And that, believe it or not, even though we have stability here, that's kind of the pushback from the center and the core of the dent. So I'm going to just lay this down real nice and gently, and I'm going to go in and make a few little minor pushes. Keep in mind that we're cross-checking at this point. So once the dent is up to the point to where you can actually read the bottom of it, and you can see the bottom of it naturally, it's time to start cross-checking, guys. It's time to use the lights coming in from this angle and your light coming in from this angle, and you're never exempt. You want to move them around. If I got to take this light over here, take this light at a different angle, you got to check 360 degrees around these dents to completely finish them. So I'm going to jump in here, do a little bit of knockdown work. And I want you to pay attention to that knockdown work, because when a dent oil cans on you, that is where you lose it. And we're still doing it under the tension. So with this tension here, we're not losing nothing nowhere, because I can't even hardly, as I'm pushing down, I'm putting pressure right here. I can barely see the panel flex, let alone drop my low back down where we don't want it to go. So I'm going to do a little bit more tapping around here, and I just maintain this tension until we know we get the core completely ironed out of this large oversized dent. All right, now I feel that we're seeing more low back in here and right here than we are high in and around it. So now I'm going to go ahead and go in here, and I'm going to be actually looking at this from a cross-check angle. I'm going to maintain you here at this angle while I'm pushing it. However, I'm going to switch out here in a moment, and I'll show you our cross-check angle. Again, very, very little pushes. You want to try to maintain the pattern of that orange peel the best you possibly can. And that right there is all I needed from that cross-check angle. I'm going to jump right back around to our original angle and take a look at it from here, from your angle. There we go. Slight little bit of tapping. And let's take a look around this thing. I want to show you what it looks like here after doing the stability technique and kind of ironing out the center of the damage. All right, guys, so this is it. You see them giant waves in the panel? That is the tension hold there from the wedge. But right there's the bottom of our dent now. And right here is going to be my cross-check angle. We're going to come in, I'm going to hit it up from this cross-check angle, and I think at that point we're going to go ahead and pull the wedge and see exactly what the panel looks like when it flexes down to its natural position. All right, everybody, so now I'm actually coming through the back side of the brace. And I'm just going to push it on up. Very, very little low here. Again, unaggressive pushes. I got a little bit of a pattern in here where I had to shrink. And really, some of that's that my tool is not as sharp as what I would like it. Very hard to get a Mark Circus tool in between a brace like this without bending the crap out of it. But no worries. We're going to be able to shape this up, no problem at all. But that is as far as I'm going with it there. And we'll take one more look at it here before I go ahead and pull the wedge out. And there it is. There it is. If you want to look here though, There's no major aggressive high spots. Pay attention to them high spots right there. They're not overly sharp. They're kind of close to the natural orange peel, and that is the way you want to make it. When you start getting them really sharp poke marks in there, then you're at a point where it's going to be a lot tougher to finish at the end. So on a dent like this, you definitely want to see if you can bring it up with a nice smooth pattern that's not destructive to the finish. And you push a little bit harder than what I'm doing here, you could easily put little bitty star cracks at the top of the paint. And then at that point, it's going to be very, very tough to finish. So let's go ahead and pull out our wedge and take a look at it immediately after. All right, well, it looks like our masking tape held up rather well. I didn't have much faith in it, but it worked nice, and I might just start using it for this technique because you don't have the problems of getting it off like duct tape. There we go. Got our wedge out of there. Didn't bend the brace up, you know, it went in there decently. Occasionally, if you got one that's really tight here on the edge, you may have to take a soft tip and bend the brace edge back up to the skin of the panel. But we're okay on this one. We'll go ahead and now take a look at it on the panel. What we got there is a high spot with maybe a trail of a low back there behind it. So we'll go ahead and jump in here, begin tapping it out, and working it without the tension hold. We were able to flow the metal out of the center of the dent without erupting the panel into an oil can dent. All right, everybody, so again, what we have here is a high spot right through here, and we have no stability at this point. We're just going to go ahead and tap it down. I suspect that we'll be able to lay it down and have a little bitty low running through here that we're going to have to work up. We'll probably get into that exchange a little bit where we're doing some pushing, doing some tapping, doing some pushing, and doing some tapping. All right, and now I kind of had to move the camera for you here, but I've tapped it into a little shallow. And if you can see, it's ranging from this direction to this direction. So I'm going to switch to a cross-checking light that comes in at this angle. So my crease here is going this angle. My light needs to be coming in at this angle. So I'm going to go ahead, and I happen to have a cross-checking light over here, and I'm going to use it at that angle. All right, everybody, so coming back to this cross-checking angle, what I notice here is that we've got a low running through here, but even what's more prominent is the pinch or the high spot on this back edge. So what I'm going to do here, I don't want to sink this down any lower. I'm going to come in from this cross-checking angle, and I'm going to pick all these little holes up. So all these little dots, I'm going to begin picking them clean, and then I'm going to tap out the back side of this little dent. So, and then after that, what we're going to have to do is push our light way, way back there. And we're going to have to start working that real tight reflective angle. We're going to be going into the finishing part of this repair. All right, guys, so here we go. This time I'm using a long whale tail, actually. That way I don't get in front of the camera while I'm making my pushes. And I'm actually going to be using a blending hammer to tap down the high. Now what I'm going to do here, do something a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and leave the whale tail in there, in place, just like that, while I tap down the high back here. All right, now let's move the whale tail around. I literally just had it shoved in there. And what that did for us is just maintained a little pressure in the center of the low while I was tapping down the high around it, which basically guarantees the low is not going to fall back in at that point. All right, guys, so we got it pushed up pretty good from this angle. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it in the original direction we actually started the dent. One of the things that you absolutely need to remember while doing this repair process is that you're constantly going to be cross-checking. You definitely want to have 2 PDR lights if you have that. If not, you're going to have to move your light quite often. Again, don't get comfortable in one specific angle. In this shop, I have our overhead lighting and I have 2 PDR lights that I can move around the hood. Works perfect for me. What you're going to see a lot of is this. When you're at the finishing point of a large oil can style dent, or in fact many dents, it's not just applied to this specific dent, but your exchange from viewing one angle of a light, one cross-checking light, to the other light is going to become much, much closer while you're dialing in your repair. So what you may notice me doing when I'm just doing my finishing pushes is I'm pushing right here and I'm getting it up a little bit, and I'm picking 1 or 2 little lows, and as soon as I do that, I go over here and take a look at it from this cross-checking angle. My head's way over here, I get this light coming in at this angle, and I'm kind of putting my cheek right here to the side of the panel, and I'm taking a look at it from this angle. And then I'm coming back to this angle, and I'm coming back to this angle. And I will exchange back and forth until I get the dent absolutely flat. So we got a few more pushes here to go ahead and finish this dent up. Let's take a look at it from our original angle, and we will go ahead and get this part of the tutorial wrapped up. All right, everybody, so right here is the last little bit left that we need to push up from this angle. So a couple pushes directly in that little low to the left, and maybe just 1 push on the one to the right. And I'm going to try to hold the camera and look through the LCD screen while I do this with you. Right there. So there's our little low right here. And then one of them right here towards that edge. So anyhow, guys, we'll go ahead and make my final pushes here, and we'll take a look at the finished results. All right, everybody, so we'll go ahead and take a look at our finished product. And there she is, all finished up. I ended up with a little bit of texture there. Quite common. I mean, just very, very lightly. In fact, I think the only reason I would ever do anything with it would be if it was a hail-damaged vehicle, an insurance job, something like that, because there's no way anybody else would notice the slight texturing on the panel. Especially for a dent that size, it was equivalent of a golf ball being driven into the panel. And if you guys have ever worked on them before, you know what they're like. So the one thing about that is that although it may have a slight bit of texture, a little bit of 2000 grit sandpaper and a polish would absolutely erase that and make it look like brand new again. So right there, that's the little bit of texture that I got out of that repair. So anyhow, guys, there you have it. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next segment of this Oil Can 101 tutorial.